Make a circle, make a circle.
Get him up, let him get up, let him get up, let him get up.
Okay, I'm sorry, but why wouldn't anyone do this? Like this is just normal behavior, okay? Like, listen. Listening to music is such a good way to drown out background noise. You know, and if you're not wearing earphones, wearing earplugs is also a good way. Having safe clothes is also just fair, because maybe you buy clothes without trying them on, or someone gifts you clothes, and then those aren't safe clothes because certain things weren't taken into account when buying them, you know? Meowing back at your cats. Listen, if you don't have conversations with your cats, there is something wrong with you. If you do it in human talk or in animal talk, you know, it's fine if you do either. But still, kind of having your arms kind of neutral. I never know what to do with my arms, so they probably will hang there. And having more than 5 people in your circle, like, who has the time or the energy? Listen, this is just normal behavior, and you cannot convince me otherwise. Hello, baby Chris, and welcome back to my channel. We're doing some neurodivergent TikToks again. I think we're gonna feel called out. If you're here and you don't know if you're neurodivergent yet, maybe also prepare to feel called out, because watching neurodivergent content as a completely neurotypical person doesn't seem that likely, you know? But either way, before we continue, y'all gotta get hydrated. So grab some water, or some tea, or whatever else you like to drink, and then we'll check out some more TikToks. Are you hydrated? Good, let's go.
Honestly, no one talks enough about the daily struggle of the game, which is, am I doing this because I'm gay or because I'm neurodivergent? I can't sit in a chair properly. Is it because I'm gay or because I'm neurodivergent? I walk around with the dino hands. Is it because of my gay limp wrists, or is it my neurodivergent dino hands? I'm afraid to say we may never know.
We probably will never know, because so many neurodivergent people are queer, and so many queer people just kind of happen to be neurodivergent, that honestly, we will never know. We will never know. And honestly, having clarity is a great thing. I like things to be like very defined and clear, but I feel like in this case I might be okay with not knowing for sure, because being queer and being like autistic or something is such like an important part of your life, really, and one that really defines you a lot. So does it really matter, because it plays into each other so well?
Hi, let's talk about autistic meltdowns. Before we get started, yes, I am a doctor. Yes, I am autistic. And yes, I spent way too much time trying to figure out how to make this concept understandable, hopefully. This is a visual representation of an autistic person or neurodivergent person's capacity to function. I call it the bucket of woe. Anything that drains a neurodivergent person's energy goes in the bucket of woe. Loud noises, traffic, bad smell, a little bit hungry, dehydrated, forgot to take meds, feel gross because I haven't showered in 3 days, forgot what I was just gonna say. Some things like stimming, quiet time, sleeping, etc. remove woes from the bucket. Slept. I sat and played games on my phone, which is a form of stimming for me. Maybe I sat and I sang a bunch, which is another form of stimming for me. So that's a good thing, because as the bucket fills up, it's more likely that someone will have a meltdown. So, you know, when there's a bunch in there and it's filled up, like any small thing can cause a meltdown. And this is not something that we have control over at all. The less rest time that we have, the more we start with the next day. That's right, your woes roll over into the next day, and they stay there until we are able to recuperate. Additionally, the bucket of woe sits on a shelf. The thing is, this shelf is only supposed to hold about this much weight. So when you have an autistic person who is chronically overwhelmed, the shelf starts to weaken until eventually it breaks. That's autistic burnout. But wait, Blue, I'm not autistic and I get overwhelmed sometimes. This happens to everybody. You're just making this up. First of all, if you can relate that heavily, you might want to look into it just a little bit. Maybe you might have some kind of neurodivergence going on. Second, of course this happens to everybody. We all get overwhelmed. We all get burnt out. Thing is, neurotypicals have a much higher capacity to operate under stress. Why? They get a bigger bucket. Additionally, the list of woes for autistic people is much longer than for neurotypical people. Even amongst fellow neurodivergent people, there's variation because it is, of course, a spectrum. So whereas I might find the construction noise outside to be a little bothersome, for someone else that might be super distracting. Whereas a neurotypical person, if they're even aware that there's construction outside, is unbothered by it because they can just ignore it. So nothing gets added to their bucket. What about the shelf? Well, neurotypical bucket sits on a whole ass desk. So, you know, even though this desk is able to hold probably about this much weight, still a lot more than what an autistic person's shelf can hold. So while it may look similar when neurodivergent people and neurotypical people get overwhelmed and burnt out, the truth is neurotypical people have a huge advantage. This is not an exaggeration. And that's why you see neurodivergent people just struggling to keep up. So if you find yourself feeling doubtful or judgy when it comes to neurodivergent people's accommodations, how they're not able to perform at the same level as neurotypicals, just that thought in the back of your head was like, oh, I get overwhelmed sometimes too, just get over it. Stop it. We can't. We have no control over the size of our bucket. We literally cannot get over it. We don't have the same operating capacity as neurotypicals. Not to mention, the world is full of neurodivergent woes, just fucking us up constantly. So yeah, I hope this helped kind of shed some light on why neurodivergent people have such a hard time functioning in a neurotypical world. I'm gonna do more videos, hopefully demonstrating these sorts of concepts. Like if you want some more content, I guess. I don't know, this is weird. I don't like closing.
I don't like closing, so I'm gonna cut it off. But honestly, I don't even have a lot to say to this one because this was a very long video, but honestly, she explains it really well. Like, this is like such a simple way to kind of demonstrate it that if you can get someone to sit down and watch this video, when I saved it, by the way, I only watched like the first 15, maybe 20 seconds of it. So this is my first time watching it whole too. But honestly, this is just a very good like visualization of how it works really for us.
I don't know if any other neurodivergent people can relate, but I have a Teams meeting in 4 minutes, and my to-do list for today is and has been emotionally prepare for Teams meeting, do Teams meeting, and emotionally recover from Teams meeting, and then sleep.
Listen, Teams meeting, I'm not even sure if Teams meeting, like I prefer Teams meetings to like in-person meetings. But most meetings in general could probably have been an email, you know? And I feel like the preparing for a Teams meeting would be a lot more productive if it wasn't like having to like emotionally get ready for this bullshit. But instead kind of having like an outline of what is going to be like an agenda of the meeting, so you can like kind of prepare for that as well. And hope that the other people who are going to be in the meeting also prepare for it, you know? That will make it easier, but I feel like a lot of people can probably relate to this. Yeah, because you gotta prepare for it. You can never emotionally be ready, but you at least gotta kind of like collect yourself and drink your coffee if it helps ground yourself or something. And then afterwards, yeah, you're gonna need a minute. And when I say a minute, I probably mean 30 to 60 to deal with it. And people just expect you to start working on the things you discussed in the meeting, and you're just like, no.
I really hate the overgeneralization that autistic people don't recognize social cues, because I know there's a whole bunch of us that are so traumatized that we are really good at picking out negative social cues, but we can't see positive social cues to save our life. That's why we don't notice when people are flirting, but we notice when people are mad. Trauma. Another thing, there's a whole group of autistic people who are actually really good at reading and understanding social cues, but only when they don't apply to us. So like we can tell when our friends are being flirted with and stuff like that pretty easily. Only because we learned how to socialize and read social cues by watching TV, where there's a distance between us and the people who are giving the social cues, so we can see it on other people, but not when it's in that first person point of view.
Anyone else just panic when it's directed at you? Because you weren't really expecting that interaction. You were just like kind of sitting there and vibing and watching these people have a conversation, and then suddenly they turn to you and they interact with you, and you're just kind of taken aback by it, really. And you're just sitting there like, wait, what? And then you don't know how to react. And in that moment, kind of trying to figure out what your favorite TV character would do from like your favorite show or something kind of takes a while or something, because let's face it, we've all done this. To kind of think about, okay, what would my favorite character do? How would they maybe react? And kind of try to get help through that, because, you know, yeah. But honestly, it's way easier when it's on other people. And I feel like the picking up on negative emotions too easy, definitely. So much. It's just way easier, okay? I mean, honestly, saying this to any kid, neurodivergent or not, isn't great parenting or a great way to treat another human in general. But especially saying this to kids who keep hearing this over and over, because people refuse to understand. Because as soon as a child does something they don't like, it's always just the kid being a brat or not behaving well or just trying to upset the parents or something. Because a lot of us, or too many of us, have parents who don't get it. Or teachers who are just rude about it. So I feel like a lot of us heard a lot of these, if not all of these. If you're like me and you have absolutely like zero memory of your life, basically, it can be hard to tell. Because honestly, I struggle to remember anything. Which is really weird, because people remember their childhood like pretty vividly. And then I'm just like, not. You know? So it's kind of hard to tell, but I definitely remember some instances, you know, and some things you do remember. And I know that I'm pretty high masking because I try to suppress everything and have always kind of been mirroring other people I really liked. Like if there was someone in my class that I thought was really cool, I would like, not even like consciously, like I didn't consciously make that effort of like, okay, I'm gonna act like this person. It just happens so automatically, even like in preschool. that maybe I didn't get too much of it, but maybe I did. I really can't tell you.
Every time I brush my teeth, I have to make a conscious decision to do it.
First of all, if you have not already seen that video, go watch it. Maybe you will feel as cheated by life as I feel right now. Summary, she explains that habit formation for people with executive functioning issues and people without executive functioning issues are very different things. For ease, just like she did, I'm going to refer to people with executive functioning issues as neurodivergent and people without executive functioning issues as neurotypical. I am aware that that is an oversimplification at best, but without using that kind of language, it becomes basically impossible to have this conversation in a cogent way. Anyway, apparently, for people who live their lives with a lack of executive dysfunction, habits are not a thing you have to think about. There are people walking around doing tasks, not having to think about them. Brushing their teeth, taking a shower, washing the dishes, generally doing the human things. And when I saw this, even though there's like research cited in her video, like in the tweets that she shows on the screen, I was like, that's not real. So I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole and read a bunch of academic articles, and also non-academic articles. And according to Making Health Habitual, the Psychology of Habit Formation and General Practice, a peer-reviewed article circa 2012, habits are defined as actions that are triggered automatically by contextual cues. And like the original poster, I don't have those either. As I was reading all of this stuff, what I realized is I have been gaslighting the fuck out of myself my entire life. I have been telling myself this stuff is so easy. It's so easy. Just do it. Completely berating myself internally whenever I miss a step in something because I miss steps in things all the time and it causes me problems. And I'm like, you've done this 1 billion times. Why is this so hard? In fact, I think the only thing that I do automatically is judge myself for not doing things automatically. I don't even have habits like when I wake up in the morning. Like when you think about a habit, you think about things that you do every day on a schedule in like a regimented way, and you do it kind of the same way every day. And I have felt super shitty about my apparent inability to do that for my entire adult life. Turns out, because I am a neurodivergent human, these things I've been telling myself are easy. They're not. I've been over here telling myself that my own experience is not real when it turns out actually like there's a neurological reason that it is very, very real. Can you tell that I'm mad about it? Because I'm really mad about it. I swear, every single time I learn something new about my own brain, I realize that I have been treating myself like shit for all kinds of things that are just completely outside of my control. Ugh.
The absolute frustration. I know I included like the original video in my, I don't know if it's the last neurodivergent TikToks, but I definitely had it in one of the videos. Don't ask me again, I don't remember anything. But honestly, the judging yourself way too harshly is something I wish I didn't relate to. I think we all wish we didn't relate to it as much, because realizing you've literally kind of been treating yourself really harshly, because I'm very kind of in love with myself, and people always think it's kind of not like even like off-puttingly arrogant, but people do think it's kind of strange how much I love myself and how confident I am in a lot of things. But if they were to find out how I talk to myself internally sometimes, I feel like it would kind of be more confusing to them. Anyways, because the gaslighting is real. It's too real, because it's always been like that, because we've internalized it, right? Because everyone else is like, okay, just get started in your homework. It's not hard. Just do the thing. It's not that difficult. Then they tell you, okay, you have to wash the dishes every Tuesday. How could you forget? Bro, I'm gonna forget to brush my teeth if you don't remind me. Or if whatever. Listen, I cannot tell you how many times I've literally forgot to brush my teeth before going to bed. Sometimes I remember just because my teeth feel gross, and I'm just like, okay, no, I have to go brush my teeth. Because it's like a sensory thing. But honestly, habits. Having my psychologist tell me that, oh, I should just create like a nighttime routine so I'll have an easier time falling asleep. I'm just like, bro, you have no idea how often I've tried to do that. I've tried so many times. I've had at least 10 different sleep playlists, and some nights that worked really well, and some nights I did the routine. But even like habits, when neurotypical people have habits, and then they go on vacation, and maybe they skip those habits for 1 to 2 weeks, or, only do it like a couple days when they're gone for 2 weeks. That's fine. They come back and they start doing it so automatically again. But then you do something for a year straight, and then you don't do it for a week, and then it's gone forever. It's a scam. It feels like such a scam. But I feel like we should at least stop gaslighting ourselves about it, because that's literally just not how our brain is wired.
My autistic child has just shared with me the videos that they've been watching for the last 2 hours on social media. There's been 3 types of videos. Firstly, bottle smashing. Then we got rug cleaning. And lastly, patio washing. Now, we have got mobile phones, which are pretty limitless in the entertainment and education that we can provide ourselves. So I want to know one thing. Why are these videos so awesome?
Okay, like especially the cleaning ones are super satisfying. That is just super satisfying to watch. The first one is giving me a little bit of anxiety and overthinking because I'm so worried it's gonna like shatter everywhere. And just the thought of people not cleaning up the mess well, and then there's still like shards of glass everywhere. That would probably make me very not relaxed watching these types of videos. But the other two, definitely that, because I feel like it's honestly just satisfying to watch, or just any video about your special interest. Just any, really.
Have you noticed when having a conversation with a neurotypical person, it can be really hard, and sometimes they think we're rude. I have been told before by past partners, you never asked me how my day went back. I was like, why would I need to ask? Surely you'll just tell me how your day is. Like, and it's the same a lot with my other neurodivergent friends. We don't need to ask each other anything, okay? I went on holiday at the weekend, and they're like, oh yeah, it was to Whitby, it was amazing, we had a really good time, we did this, we went in the sea. And then I'd be like, I went to Whitby, oh my god, did you go to any crystal shopping around the Dracula museum? Oh no, I didn't go around the Dracula museum, but I went crystal shopping. You know what I mean? Do you see how the conversation's flowing? So neurodiverse people talk in statements, whereas neurotypical people talk in questions. So they'll say like, oh, I was so busy this weekend. We're meant to say, oh, what was you doing? And then they say, oh, okay, I went to Alton Towers. Now, here's where the catch is. If you've been to Alton Towers before, don't say, I've been there, did you go on air? Because they think that's rude. Any neurodiverse person, that is just sharing the situation and sharing the bonding. Neurotypical people think it's rude. So if a neurotypical person says, I went to Alton Towers, we are then meant to say, how was it? Did you enjoy yourself? Obviously they enjoyed themselves, that's why they're telling us, but we're meant to ask the obvious so that they then talk more. What? I know that we're meant to be like the people that don't have the social interaction skills, but if anything, I think that way of talking is so bloody confusing. Like whenever a neurotypical speaks to you, just ask questions about it, because otherwise you're going to be perceived as rude, and I've only just figured this out.
I think she has a point. Because honestly, it's kind of been shown that neurodivergent people, or like autistic people with other autistic people, they don't have communication issues. They get along great. They're very capable of holding a conversation, and it's not as exhausting. Like sure, like any type of social interaction might still be draining, but it's definitely way worse with neurotypical people, because it feels like you're kind of just having to drag the conversation out of them. So it's just easier not to. The only issue with neurodiverse people having a conversation is you will forget what you were going to say because maybe they interrupted you because they got really excited about something you mentioned, so they had to like say another thing, and then you maybe forgot where you were going. But it's okay because you both do it, and you will forgive each other for that.
Do you ever just get that autistic urge to just like...
The random auditory stims. It's not auditory. Vocal. That's kind of the opposite, but yeah, the random vocal stims. Either doing weird noises. I sometimes just get the random urge to like meow like a cat. I don't know why. I don't even have a cat. It's not like I'm meowing at a cat. I'm just meowing to myself or making other weird noises. I was like repeating random phrases. And you're lying if you say you don't.
A highly sensitive person is someone who has
autism. A highly sensitive person is someone who has autism or is autistic. And the sad realities of why this term was created in the first place is because of ableism. Because the person who created the term was so afraid of the stigma surrounding autism that they refused to seek out a diagnosis for their family member, but yet later in life, this same family member was diagnosed with autism. Highly sensitive person is just autism. Now, not every single autistic person is a highly sensitive person. However, every single person who meets the criteria for highly sensitive person is autistic because it's just autism repackaged to make it more palatable. And if you don't believe me, go read the comments of the video that I'm stitching, because every single person who thinks they're describing characteristics and traits of HSP are actually describing characteristics and traits of autism.
Okay, first of all, it has to be said, I want to steal this blanket. This blanket is so cool. I want to steal it. I love Halloween themed things, and it looks so cozy and cuddly. I want to steal it. Anyways, literally way before I thought I might be autistic, I literally stumbled across this term and I was like, but why does this fit so much? Why does this fit so much? But then I kind of discarded it because a lot of the time I either really am that unemotional about things, or just I'm not great at recognizing my emotions, because sometimes I can't tell if I'm hungry or if like my stomach is sore from working out. So, you know, maybe I just can't tell. But honestly, I felt called out by this, which is unsurprising really, but still.
So good at masking. No one would ever realize I was autistic if I didn't say anything.
Well, maybe you are good at masking, but maybe you're not as good as masking as you think. I'm not even sure if I'm as good as at masking as I think. But at the same time, I'm trying to unmask more, but then I don't know if I'm doing it, and then I you know, it's a whole thing. But I can never stand normally. Like, as soon as I stand anywhere, I'm not gonna stand normally. I'm not gonna have my hands like just, I don't, how do neurotypical people just hold their hands? Like do they just hang there, or do they, I do this like with my arms crossed a lot, just because I don't know what else to do with them. But you know, what do neurotypical people do with arms? And also just not picking, or like not staying in one sitting position. Because neurotypical people, unless it's like becoming super uncomfortable, like, you ever been to the cinema and people just sit there and they don't move the entire movie? They might like move their hands to grab their drink or their snacks, but they don't rearrange themselves on their seats like every 10 minutes. And meanwhile, you're just trying to be comfortable and you're constantly changing your sitting position. I am really glad that my feet don't smell bad, because that way I can at least take off my shoes. Because otherwise there is no way in hell I would be comfortable the entire movie. Just no. Listen, I always say that when the ADHD is ADHDing, you just gotta let it ADHD. Because if they don't clean the washing machine right now, it will never be cleaned. It might be cleaned in like 5 to 6 months. But listen, unless it's like really gonna disturb your neighbors, just let it ADHD, you know? Because done at midnight is better than not done at all, really. And I kind of hate because I don't know, is it also a neurotypical thing? Just like want to finish everything by like 7 or 8 and then not do anything for the rest of the night? And then it's kind of really hard to tell yourself that it's okay to start things at like 8 or 9 p.m. because it's like, if you feel like doing something, just do it. Actually, you know, maybe some ground rules of, you know, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt other people, don't do something super risky. But, you know, generally, like, if it's stuff like you want to suddenly clean the bathroom or deep clean the washing machine or rearrange your fridge or your pantry, honestly, just do it. Just do it. And if you're like me and you left your phone in the other room while you're rearranging your entire kitchen cabinets, someone might be mad that they texted you 30 times to ask you to go out to dinner with them, but you're just like rearranging your kitchen, and then you checked like 2 hours later and you're just like, oh, well, it's too late now anyways, I'm gonna go back, I was just here to grab something, you know? But at least that way it doesn't disturb your flow. Either way, I am once again feeling sufficiently called out by these TikToks, so I think I'm gonna leave it here. I have a bunch more saved, so I think I'll have to do Neurodivergent TikTok again next month, but we love doing it, so it's not a problem. But either way, I hope you enjoyed these TikToks. I hope you feel called out too, and I'll be back in a few days with my next video.